Ladies and gentlemen, it's been about 5 days and I'm ready for more NASCAR 07 action on the channel, and hopefully you guys are too. It is the first time in a week that we have ran the Mark Martin's Revenge Tour on the Nextel Cup Series version of NASCAR 07 on this custom schedule season. Today we are at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, flat old Las Vegas of course, for the running of this race, the UAW Daimler Chrysler 400. This was a great race in real life. Back in 2006, ended up with a photo finish between Matt Kenseth and Jimmy Johnson. Johnson starting on the pole today, trying to get his first win of the season. He comes in second in points, 80 behind us, Mark Martin, and we are on a hot streak to start the year. First in the first 3 races of the year. Second at Bristol, even though we only led 5 laps in that race. We were consistently in the top 5 the whole day and ended up with a second place run. Jeremy Mayfield got his first win of the season, surprise winner at Bristol. We'll see if we get another surprise winner here in this one. Be sure to like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. We're on the road to 5,000 subs right now on the channel. Hopefully we can get there within about another month or so. I'm hoping by the, I think I said by the Coke 600, Indy 500, that Memorial Day weekend, I think we can get to 5,000 subs on the channel. So yeah, let's see if we're going to get a good start to this one here today. We will be starting at the tail end of the field. No practice, no qualifying. Going to try to make it more difficult on ourselves, and we'll see if we can keep the top 2 streak alive here today. Mark DeMars, Corvette Mode, and others, welcome into the stream. We're going to get this race underway, and it should be a fun one. 267 laps, 400 miles, green flag, and we are in to this 5th race of this long custom schedule season. Right out of the gate here on the start for Mark Martin. Setting himself up in line. Has a nice little run. Quickly cuts down to the apron through the tri-oval. You'll be seeing quite a few guys maybe try to run the apron today. Mark Martin as well on the fresher tires at the beginning of a run. Get a lot of track position out of it in the early going. He's already passed a handful of race cars. Jimmy Johnson leads the opening lap of the race today. Martin squeezes the 42 of Casey Mears. Mears runs the 6 down the track a little bit. Arrival from Bristol is Casey Mears. Really flattens the entry out going into turn 1 when you take the apron through the tri-oval, especially with how wide the apron is at flat Vegas versus what it is today at a more progressively banked Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Car feels great though, feels glued to the racetrack. Martin making passes here in the early going. Big dive into turn 1 underneath the 18 of J.J. Yaley. Billy Kramer, thanks for tuning in. Now the flatter tracks in the Busch and the Truck Series I haven't ran too well at. This is our first flat track, and it's on an intermediate to say the least here with this 1.5 miles at Vegas in the Cup Series, but obviously Mark Martin showing speed, so maybe it's a little different on the flat intermediate track versus a flat short track. Martin going to get to the outside of the 01 car of Joe Nemechek into turns 3 and 4. That's probably not going to work. We'll see if he can get to the bottom some point in time. No, he's still to the outside of the 01. This is going to be an impressive pass if he can actually make this work. Nemechek going to slide up the hill a little bit, though. Up on that outside lane. Martin going to lift to kind of let the 01 in front of him off the exit of the corner. Dale Jr. took it 3 wide and kind of ran Martin out of room in that 3rd lane. We'll get down to the bottom to follow Earnhardt. And Ryan Newman, Jeff Gordon get by Jimmy Johnson that last lap. Newman had the lead for a skosh, but never actually got bonus points for leading because he didn't lead the lap. Jeff Gordon, Johnson's teammate, will lead his first lap of the race, though, in the early going. The dive by Mark. Martin taking it 3 wide off the exit of turn 2. Getting side drafted all the way down the back stretch. Just squeezes by into turns 3 and 4. Already in 7 laps, he's gone from last to 17th. Michael Waltrip to the lead off of turn 4 now in the 55 car. What a drive for him in the early going. Martin sitting behind his teammate, Jamie McMurray. Oh, big checkup. Getting into turns 3 and 4. Oh my gosh, Matt Kenseth running the 6 of Martin all the way down the racetrack. That's an aggressive side draft. Oh my goodness. And Martin slides clear into turn 1 on Kenseth. Barely making the clean pass on him. I mean, he chased us all the way down to the apron in the tri-oval. He never made contact, though. I want to talk about racing a teammate aggressively. It was clean, but it was definitely aggressive. Murray with back-to-back top 10 finishes. Hasn't finished worse than 12th this season. Jimmy Johnson got back to the lead after Gordon led for a couple laps. Mark Martin up to 11th. They'll be looking to the inside of Jamie Mack getting into turns 3 and 4. Newman has dropped back a couple spots after trying to challenge for the lead. And Jeremy Mayfield, our Bristol winner, up inside the top 5 in the early going as well. Martin on the inside of Denny Hamlin for 9th. Mark just ran his fastest lap of the early going of the race as well. Great apex there in the middle of the corner for Martin. Gets by Biffle underneath Jeremy Mayfield. And squeezing by Dale Jarrett. Speaking of squeezing by, Martin trying to squeeze by Tony Stewart. Ran another quickest lap of the race. Little wiggle in the middle of the corner. Martin's car got a bit tight. He did clear Stewart, though. Gordon slips up the track, and Mark Martin is already up to 4th. I mean, what a drive in the opening laps of this race. I'm surprised Michael Waltrip in the 55 car is leading right now. Martin to the inside of Jimmy Johnson for 3rd. Clear. Gets to the inside of Ryan Newman. Mark Martin has wasted 0 time trying to get to the front of the field. And as of right now, it's looking pretty clear that he's got the quickest car in the field. In the early going of this one, we'll take our first field pass of the race when we get to the start-finish line this time. We'll see how long Michael Waltrip can lead for, as we'll drop back and drive as Jamie McMurray in the 26, who is in the 10th place position. We'll try to get him forward a little bit. We have 2 cup races on NASCAR 07 this week before I leave for Talladega. The next one will be Wednesday night, and it will be at Pocono. That will only be a 50% race for the first of 2 Pocono races on the custom schedule season. So that will only be 100 laps. Of course, Pocono races this time period were 500 miles. And they had 2 races a year. Ryan Newman has taken the lead now, and he has gotten the 5 bonus points if he can lead to the line this time by. He has gotten by both Michael Waltrip and Mark Martin. Martin slipping back a little bit in that outside lane now. After challenging for the lead, he couldn't actually get a lap let in yet. McMurray trying to close the gap on these cars up in front of him. Martin holding up Mayfield on the outside. He just can't get to the bottom. Big squeeze by McMurray to get underneath the 19. And gets by Mark as well. I thought the Martinsville race was okay. I'm a fan for strategy races personally. I think it mixes up the variation of races on the schedule, but I don't like it when it's a track that is used to putting on really good racing like Martinsville, and this is what we have to have it be a good race. It was definitely frustrating. Honestly, the way the next-gen package has been on flatter short tracks, and really short tracks in general, reminds me a lot of the 550 high downforce, or sorry, the 750 high downforce package on the short tracks in 2019. Jamie McMurray's challenging for the lead all of a sudden as he's charged towards the front of the field. Michael Waltrip getting back out in front there for a little bit. Jamie might be able to get it. Big dive by McMurray. And all clear off of turn 2. Jamie McMurray to the lead at Las Vegas. Now can he hang on to it, because defending series champion Tony Stewart's right behind him. Followed him up the inside line to get by Jeff Gordon and Michael Waltrip. Patrick Shadley, thanks for tuning in. Yep, that will be 5 bonus points for McMurray as well. And now we will swap to Greg Biffle in the 16, who is in 6th. Waltrip, after losing the lead, falling back just a bit. Greg Biffle in the 16 car trying to move his way forward, getting by Ryan Newman for 4th through turns 1 and 2. Jeff Gordon up to 2nd, getting by Stewart. McMurray holds on to the lead still. Big dive into the corner by Biffle. Had to lift to kind of keep the 20 in front of him there. Didn't want to make accidental contact. Biffle has a run, looking to the outside of Stewart. Into turns 3 and 4. A little bit of contact between these two cars. And if Biffle can complete this pass on the outside of Stewart for 3rd, that'd be amazing. Saw Mark try to do that on Joe Nemechek middle of the pack earlier, and it didn't really work out for him. Problem is Jeff Gordon's in the way of the 16. He got into Stewart and into the wall off of turn 2. That'll help McMurray hold on to the lead a little bit. One car has just blown an engine and has made their way to pit road. We continue to stay green and caution-free at Las Vegas today. We have not had a caution-free Cup race, so we have had 2 caution-free Truck Series races, one 100% race and a 50% race that have gone caution-free. 100% race was at Charlotte, and the 50% race was at Texas. Biffle gets by Stewart on the inside that time. Through turns 3 and 4. Got something out of it, I guess. Driving as Mark Martin for the season feels strange swapping to Biffle. It does, doesn't it? Oh, wow. Biffle might get both McMurray and Gordon here. Roush Fenway showing some speed in this one. In the early stages, a lot of their cars towards the front of the field. Greg Biffle will take the lead away from Jamie McMurray. And we'll swap to Matt Kenseth in the 17 at the line. Kenseth back at 16th. Mark Martin free falling quite a bit as well. Both these two were in the top 10 not that long ago. 5 bonus points for Biffle leading his first lap of the race, by the way. Martin maybe used his tires a little bit there, trying to get to the front of the field as quickly as he could. A lot of racing still to go, though. I notice on particular racetracks, AI's a little slow in the driving as me as well. Not everywhere, but there are some tracks that is the case. I feel like it varies from series to series as well. Sometimes they're faster, too. Kenseth back inside the top 10, getting by Tony Raines and Kyle Busch. Drive 2 more laps as Kenseth, and then we'll go back to Martin. Kenseth's 3 seconds off the lead in 10th. Quite a big gap before he catches up to the 9th place car a little further up the way. Now, McMurray wasn't able to pull away when he got to the lead, but when Greg Biffle took the lead away from McMurray, it does look like the 16's putting a little bit of a gap on the rest of the field. Tony Raines somewhat keeping up with Kenseth after getting passed as well. Oop. A little too far wide off the exit of the corner and scraped the outside wall. Off of turn 2. Kenseth's car's a little tight also, just like Mark's. And we'll go back to Mark Martin in the 6th, as he's in the 17th place position, 4.8 seconds off the race lead. A lot of racing still to go, though, in this one. Getting by Elliott Sadler for 16th. I don't know. It would have had to have been somebody that blew an engine that was behind us in the running order. It was when we were driving as McMurray, so it would have had to have been somebody outside the top 10 at the time that blew an engine. Greg Biffle to the inside of Denny Hamlin. Slight tap there with Kyle Busch in the 5 car in front of him as well. And now Mark going down to the apron trying to get underneath the 5 of Busch. So Biffle's, I know, I've been doing that a lot on this season. I think it's because I'm swapping to Biffle during the race. And I was used to driving as him in NASCAR 06 in the last season we did there. Before switching over to NASCAR 07. So that was a custom schedule season too. Truex is squeezing Mark Martin quite a bit that time, and it worked out for him. Side drafted his way, was able to stay in front of Mark. Honestly, if we could just keep the top 5 streak alive, I'd be happy, honestly, with today's race. I know there's speed to compete, but it does feel like this car has faded quite a bit on the long run from where it was on the short run. So Mark may be looking at a better short run car than a long run car if we get any late race cautions today. Omar, thanks for tuning in. Win your first championship, make yourself famous. I think he was famous up to this point in time anyway. He had like over 30 career Cup wins. He's in the Hall of Fame now. I think he had a successful career without a championship. We got him his first Daytona 500 win in the season, so it'd be cool if we could finish it out with a championship also. Early season points lead. Remember, this is a full season points format as well. There's no chase, no playoff system on this season. So consistency matters. And so far off to a good start with 3 firsts and a second in the first 4 races. Martin to the inside of Ryan Newman for 11. Tony Raines in the top 10 right now through 36 laps. What a run for that 96 team. Mark just ran his fastest lap as he tries to get to the inside of Raines. Just squeezes underneath him, getting into turns 3 and 4. 1 and 2 rather, sorry. And halfway out of gas right now at this point in the run, lap 37. Mark Martin going to look to the inside of Matt Kenseth into turns 3 and 4. Big dive by Mark. All 4 tires down to the apron, slides up and clear for 9th. Johnson, who started on the poles, falling back quite a bit in the early going of this race as well. Martin's just over 2 seconds off the lead now. He was the inaugural race winner at Las Vegas in 1998. Same exact configuration it is in the race we're running today as well. There were quite a few comers and goers in the very early going of this one, but now that we're really starting to get into this green flag run that starts this race today, we are seeing a lot more changing of the guard at the front of the field, and who really has good long run speed and is able to actually stay competitive at the front. Michael Waltrip's starting to really fall back now. Jeremy Mayfield, going to fall outside the top 5. Mark with a big run, gets to the inside of Dale Jarrett. And Mark Martin gets by Jarrett for 4th. Oh yeah, definitely looking like we can make it on 3 stops. Overdrove the entry that time. Still backed it up well in the middle, and Martin gets to the inside of Stewart. Great drive off the exit of the corner as well. Stewart trying to hang on that right rear corner panel as he side drafts his way a little closer to the outside of Martin into the corner. And now a bit of a squeeze from Jeff Gordon to Mark Martin, getting into the corner as well into turns 3 and 4. Martin up to 2nd. And Roush Fenway Racing running 1-2 at the front of the field again. Martin's about a 2nd off of his teammate Greg Biffle, and Tony Stewart will get to 3rd again on Jeff into turn 1 as he slides clear. Both cars go towards that middle to upper groove. We're just going to get our 2nd and final field pass out of the way here shortly. And we can run as Martin the rest of the way. Get done with both of those before we bleed into the first set of green flag pit stops this afternoon. We'll say Mark's not really burning the tires too far off the race car. Considering the deep dives down to the apron he's made even this far into the opening tire stint of this race. Over 40 laps on him. As he slowly creeps in on Greg Biffle, we will transfer back to Jamie McMurray. McMurray in the 11th place position now, just falling outside of the top 10. Oh, got into his teammate there of Matt Kenseth as they got their way into turns 1 and 2. Open run on a flat track is one thing, but on a fast, flat mile and a half like this is another. Good job by Kenseth holding on there. Didn't really try to put the bumper to him, just kind of tagged him a little bit. Oh man, McMurray got loose trying to get underneath the 96. Tony Raines, Kenseth right behind both of them. And he'll take it 3 wide off turn 2. Battle for 9th place right now, the backstretch. And they'll be 3 wide still into turns 3 and 4. Kenseth completes the pass on both cars. Kenseth's car feels like it's freeing up a little bit compared to when we swapped to him the first time in the run. Jeremy Mayfield, Michael Waltrip, Jimmy Johnson, Dale Jarrett, the next 4 cars that are ahead of Kenseth. Mayfield got a great run off of turn 2. Kenseth trying to get underneath the Mayfield with a little bit of a block. Deep dive into the corner by Kenseth. Very close to the grass, getting down into the corner. Sticks it fairly well off the exit. Mayfield got off turn 4 maybe a little bit better than the 17. And Kenseth will clear the 19 car into turns 1 and 2 and also gets by Jimmy Johnson for 7th place. If McMurray's still in 10th, then that means all 4 Roush Fenway Fords are in the top 10 right now. Michael Waltrip and Dale Jarrett side by side, and Kenseth making another dive. Oh boy, clipped the grass. Hangs on to the race car. That is sketchy. Good pass by Waltrip on Jarrett for the meantime. And we'll swap back to Greg Biffle at the front of the field. Lap 50. The Biff out in front. Kind of dominating the early going of this race so far today. No lap traffic to come by yet in this race either. Rowdy Fan 8, thanks for tuning in. Mark Martin come back in the NASCAR Winter Championship. Yeah, I think his Cup Series racing days are over. Isn't he like 60 years old now? He'd have to be in his 60s because he was in his early 50s, I think, when he won his last race. Late 40s, early 50s. That was when he was with Hendrick. I know he was definitely in his early 50s when he was with MWR at the very end. Running part-time in the 55 car. We'll go one more lap with Biffle, and then we'll swap back to Mark Martin in the 6. And we'll stick with him for the rest of the race today. Martin dropping back to 5th temporarily. Matt Kenseth made his way up to 4th. Martin will get back by him through 1 and 2. And also gets to the inside of Gordon for 3rd. Gordon running a very low line on the backstretch and really holding Mark tightly off of turn 2. Tight battle into 3 and 4. Very close quarters racing as Gordon was desperately trying to side draft the 6 as much as he could. Gordon bounced off the wall off turn 4. Powered back into the throttle too soon, and Kenseth's going after the 24 car for 4th again. So now 3 Roush Fenway Fords are in the top 5. And if McMurray, again, is still in 10th, then all of them are in the top 10. Wade Slisky, thanks for tuning in. I don't know if I'll see you on TV or not, but definitely have fun out there. Tony Stewart's closed the gap a little bit on Greg Biffle for the lead. I don't think Stewart's led yet. Definitely no Mark Martin hasn't led yet. Mark to the inside of Stewart. They'll be side by side through the tri-oval. Mark will have the advantage on the bottom and clear Stewart into turn 1. So Mark Martin started last in this race, 56 laps. He's up to second place. Maybe at the very end of this run, Biffle may be fading just a little bit. He was getting out to a pretty good lead before that. Mark may have a chance here to take the lead. Getting close to those green flag pit stops. Mark with the dive underneath Biffle into the tri-oval. Side by side, Biffle led that lap again at the line, but Mark's going to have the run. Can he get to the inside? No, not quite yet. Through the center of the corner, he beats Biffle back to the gas real easily. He'll clear him off of turn 2. And Mark Martin leads for the first time today at lap 58. The plan for him will be to stay out of the pits as long as he possibly can. Mark's got a really fast race car. Got some drivers coming into pit row. Looks like Jamie McMurray, one of them, pitting this lap at lap 59. Green flag pit stops will begin for the first time today at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. A hot start to the season for Mark Martin. Can he go for another top 2 finish in the first 5 races of the year, make it 5 in a row? Definitely putting up some video game stats in this video game season. But Jimmy Johnson's been there every step of the way. Johnson's got 2 runner-ups. He's finished in the top 5 the first 4 races of the season as well. He's led even more laps than Mark. He led the most laps in 2 of those 4 races. So, and he started on the pole today, led laps in the early going. So just like that, Jimmy Johnson, second in points. He's only 80 back as a result, despite how good Mark Martin's been this year. So very early in the season, it's looking like it's going to be a battle between Mark Martin and Jimmy Johnson. Remember, Johnson had not won a Cup title to this point in his NASCAR career yet. 2006 was the first year in which he did it, and this is the 2006 season. And some lap traffic cycling out right in front of Mark. Biffle stayed close behind Martin, but he hasn't been able to really challenge him for the lead yet. Matt Kenseth's on pit road. We know Mark Martin's going to try to push it to about lap 70 here. At least lap 70 before he pits. Cars that cycle out of the pits right in front of Martin on fresher tires. Greg Biffle got a pit from second place. There's no way Mark's going to be the leader when everything cycles through. He just ran his fastest lap, though. 31.489 that last lap. Only led 5 laps in the 500-lap race at Bristol. He's already led more in this race today, just by leading the last 6. Martin, one of the last cars that still has to hit pit road. Definitely know he can go 70 laps on fuel. Hit halfway at lap 37. So he should be able to make it anywhere between 72 to 74 laps. Maybe even looking at lap 71 as being his stop. He's got a 1 lap lead on the field. So he is the last driver that has to hit pit road. Honestly, as fast as this car's been so far, I don't even know if you make an adjustment if you're Mark Martin. Maybe going to take a little bit of wedge out of it because it is pretty tight nearly going to the run. It definitely frees up as the tires wear. But I think I can get away with making a slight wedge adjustment. 31.441, another fastest lap of the race. 65 laps on these tires. Robbie Gordon, didn't want to go to the apron there. Robbie Gordon in the 7 car has just blown an engine. He's trying to get back to pit road. He'll be the second driver to have an engine failure in the early going of today's race. Yeah, the further I can go this first... Oh, and a caution is out. Well, Mart will come into the pits now. He has just lapped the field with this caution. Ryan Newman plows... Oh my gosh, terrible crash. In turn... Oh my goodness, and they all piled in behind. Ryan Newman hit Dave Blaney coming out of the... I don't know what Blaney slowed up for exactly, but he slowed up. Martin Truex Jr. and Elliott Sadler pile in. A lot of debris on the racetrack. Mark Martin will pit under the caution. And the second place car, Greg Biffle, will get the free pass. And Mark Martin will make that wedge adjustment here. Going to take a half round to wedge out. He'll be the only car on pit road. Philip Moore, welcome into the stream also, by the way. Big crash in turn 3, bringing out our first caution of the day. We may see some debris cautions after that, too. Newman clobbered Blaney, and Newman was in the top 5 and led laps earlier in the race, too. A little bit of a mistake on this pit stop, but luckily, Martin's going to be the leader anyway. Well, he should have been. I mean, a lot of guys probably took the wave route. We should have been the leader, though, in the restart. And instead, we're going to be at the tail end of the line. Green flag back in the air. It looks like 7 cars will be on the lead lap, or 8 cars, I should say, will be on the lead lap. Martin, the last of which, as the green flag is back in the air at lap 69. Well, that has made things a little interesting. And we've got a caution for debris. Martin quickly goes to the bottom of the track, and there it was on the inside, but he went to the apron immediately, and the debris will be off of Dave Blaney's race car, probably off the back of his car, which is where he had gotten hit hard from Newman. Oh yeah, the entire back bumper's torn up, so should get us back towards the front of the field then. But yeah, 8 cars on the lead lap. Mark Martin gonna stay out. I probably could have just came back in and pitted again if I really wanted to, but I didn't. All right. Green flag back in the air. Big drop by Martin. A couple lap cars on the inside got by him, but then he got to the bottom in front of Elliott Sadler. Didn't want to waste too much time on the top. It gets to the inside of Kyle Busch quickly off of turn 2. Tony Stewart is the race leader for the first time today, following these 2 cautions back-to-back in the early going of the race. Fanning way out, 3 wide. Off the exit of the corner there. Mark Martin giving himself as much space as he can get. Oh, a little contact, though. And we've got another caution. Our 3rd of the day. Back-to-back yellow, back-to-back-to-back yellows, I should say. And it's more debris off Dave Blaney. Oh, man, hard hit into the wall there. Ryan Newman, actually. Apologize on that. Newman's hood came off. I couldn't tell who ran it over on the outside. It looked like one of the fantasy drivers, maybe the 147, ran it over. Probably blew a right front and then smacked the wall hard off of turn 2. And Jimmy Johnson, it looked like, got to the lead before the caution came out. So 48 car back out in front again. And again, the green flag is back in the air. Lap 78. 3 straight yellows. Scrape into the wall off turn 2 for Martin there as they were getting up to speed. Pulled up as quickly as he could to clear Kyle Busch. Dark Crypto, thanks for tuning in. And a dive by Martin. Into the tri-oval, 3 wide up in front of him. He'll take it 3 wide into the corner as well. Oh, this is going to get dicey. Forget about 3 wide. They're 4 wide off the exit of the corner. 4 wide at Las Vegas. Off of turn 2 at the front of the field, Jeff Gordon got to the lead. Mark Martin to 4th. To restarting in 8th. He had a blazing short run car earlier. Gordon trying to pull away on this restart. Well, Johnson runs in 2nd. 4 wide again off of turn 2. Oh, contact! Waltrip bounced around. He got sandwiched. I think it was between Newman and Harvick up high. Martin escapes, and he'll get to 2nd off of turn 4 under Johnson. 6 cars, an absolute rocket ship right now. Trying to retake the lead. The second time Jeff Gordon has led today. And Mark Martin is right there. Gordon wiggles, goes up the hill. Martin dives to the inside. Off of turn 2, will take the lead. Mark Martin back out in front for the second time here at Las Vegas. Taking it away from 4-time Jeff Gordon. A little intimidation. Gordon got a bit loose, and Mark Martin takes the lead. I think it's going to be tough to stop the 6 today. Greg Biffle was probably the unbeatable one earlier, but I think he ended up being a lap down. That caution in the middle of green flag pit stops, so fortunately for Biffle, he's lost a lot of track position. It is Mark Martin who is now leading laps again at Las Vegas. Jeff Gordon stuck on the outside of the 48 car of Jimmy Johnson. Alternate through the different camera angles for the first time in the race today. Lap 85. A lot of sun glare getting off into turn 1. Remember, this 16 made a wedge adjustment when they were just on pit road. Took a half round to wedge out of it, try to help free it up a bit more. Especially for the short run, especially. It's the main reason why they tried to free it up. Johnson and Gordon keep going back and forth for second. Kevin Harvick in the 29 car right there with them. Red Wolf 1, thanks for tuning in. Another slow car in the bottom of the track in turns 3 and 4 trying to get to pit road. Should be able to get there, and they do off of turn 4. 3 drivers have blown an engine already in today's race. Yeah, I wouldn't say this game is too easy necessarily. I have had good luck in the Cup Series to start the season, but not so much in the Busch in the Truck Series. I didn't take the points lead in the Truck Series till after our 8th race, and I'm still not in the lead in the Busch standings, so we'll take the good luck that we've had in the early going of the season, just kind of run with it for right now. Because it's probably not going to stay that way. Had 3 cautions already in this race as well. I mean, that could just throw the strategy everywhere, even if we're having a good run. Haven't led a ton of laps this season, except for the Dover race, which was the second race of the season, or sorry, the 3rd race of the season. Kansas was second race. At Dover race, we led a lot of laps, and we led over half the race and got the win. It's the only max point stay Mark has had this season. I will say, though, that the cars are easier to drive in this game than what they were in NASCAR 06. NASCAR 06, I feel like they were moving around quite a bit more. Now, I will say, though, I guess it depends on the track, because I've noticed the flat, short tracks I've kind of struggled with grip. Like, Milwaukee's going to be tough for the Busch Series race tomorrow, because I struggled at Milwaukee in the Truck Series, finished 25th. Kind of ran outside the top 15 the whole race. So it's going to be an interesting race tomorrow for those that tune in. See if we could try to overcome the odds with Jimmy Johnson just a bit in that race, because it will not be easy. Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon closing that gap. Trying to. I mean, they're right there with Mark Martin, but they're just not able to really contest to take the lead at all. Mark not making any mistakes. I will say, the thing I've noticed with this game, the more I back the corners up, the looser it gets. When I try to just push hard and drive through the corner, especially if I drive it in a little deeper into the corner, it tends to stick. Where in NASCAR 06, there was like a fine line you had to hit, or it could get a bit slippery, and I haven't really had that much in this game. Except for Milwaukee, for whatever reason. I struggled in the truck race there pretty badly. Texas, it was sketchy too. I still got a top 10 in the truck race there. That was a track where there wasn't a lot of grip, so that'll be interesting in a 500-mile race in the Cup Series when we get there, but it won't be till a little later in the season. Got a Busch race there as well yet. And I think I have one more truck race there. Track position going to be the name of the game here. As long as Mark Martin's going to be at the front of the field, it's going to be hard for anybody to beat him. Team's just going to have to execute when it matters the most, closer to the end of the race. Not getting their own way. They made a slight mistake on that first pit stop under caution. Luckily, didn't really matter because Mark kind of trapped a lot of cars a lap down, staying out as long as he could. A lot of smoke towards the outside wall at turns 1 and 2. But we are still under green flag conditions right now. So we went 66 laps to start the race caution-free. Then we had 3 cautions back-to-back-to-back. 2 of them for debris after a big 5-plus car crash getting into turn 3 involving Dave Blaney, Ryan Newman, Elliott Sadler was involved in that one, and a couple other race cars. Everybody pitted right around lap 59. And then just beyond that, so we'll probably see green flag pit stops open up just before lap 120. Although with the cautions, they were able to save a little bit of fuel. So right around lap 120, give or take, we'll be seeing some green flag pit stops again. So about another 20 laps. Not from Martin, who stretched it a little further and then pitted during that first caution. Gave up a little bit more at the bottom that time, but Johnson still couldn't get underneath him. Dale Campbell, thanks for tuning in. It's amazing how much it varies game to game because the Busch Series race I won at Michigan, pretty easy for the most part. Kevin Harvick just led his first lap of the day, and Mark Martin's going to get the crossover down to the bottom quickly. So 5 bonus points there for Harvick. Got a lead change in, and then Mark just swept right back underneath him in turns 1 and 2. It was a great crossover move. Get back out in front. Now they're 2 by 2 behind Mark, and they lost a lot of ground through turns 3 and 4. I didn't even realize Harvick really passed the 24 and the 48. Matt Kenseth and the 17 start to close in. Kenseth, Johnson, I think it was Kane, who were the 3 drivers at the end of the Vegas race in real life in 06 that were battling, and then obviously it ended up being a photo finish between Kenseth and Johnson. Both those guys in the top 5 battling for the win here in the early going, at least. Still a little shy of the halfway mark. Car bottoming out that time. Saw some sparks coming out from underneath the 6. Tell you what, if this was banked Vegas, we definitely wouldn't be on the apron in the middle of the corners, but flat Vegas, you're seeing it. And I know that they did run this line in real life from time to time because I was watching the 1998 race on our Throwback Thursday live stream back when NASCAR was at Las Vegas earlier this season. And they were running the apron down towards the grass for a lot of that race in the middle of the corner. So I know people have gotten at me before, like, oh, they wouldn't run that low in the apron. They do at Flat Vegas. I'm not saying they do that now. And they still do it in the Tri-Oval from time to time. I look at them run at Phoenix on the apron. Like, don't tell me that drivers don't race on the apron in NASCAR. There's no out of bounds. If there's pavement, they'll use it. Their cars will find that pavement. That Kenseth up to P3. He's the only Roush Fenway Ford that actually hasn't led. McMurray led a handful of laps before Biffle took the lead, and then Mark Martin took the lead away from Biffle. And it's been pretty close to the most laps led between the 16 and the 6 to this point in the race. Although with how strong the 6 is and with the 16 nowhere to be found, it's going to be tough for Biffle to lead the most laps today, and it could fall into the hands of Mark Martin being able to do so for the second time in the first 5 races this season. Johnson and Harvick losing a little bit of pace from the top 3. Lap 108 as we cross the start-finish line that time. And with that caution coming out in the middle of green flag pit stops, obviously bunched the field back together, then we had a few of them back-to-back to back. Under normal green flag racing, when we haven't been in the middle of green flag pit stops, we haven't really seen lap traffic come into play at all, so it'll be interesting if we actually get a long enough green flag run for that to happen in tonight's race. From the front to the back of the field, seems fairly competitive. Our last race at Bristol took about 40 laps before green flag pit stops came into play. NASCAR 6 is the hardest. Oh boy, a little contact there with Gordon. I'd say of the games that I've played on the channel, for me personally, it was NASCAR Thunder 04, but I was kind of getting in my own way at a lot of the fantasy tracks on that season, which costed me the championship. NASCAR 06 was definitely a close second, because at least I won one title in NASCAR 06. I didn't win the Do It For Dale title. Jeff Gordon going to get back to the race lead. Mark going to try to cross him over by going to the apron through the tri-oval. As close to the grass as possible as he could. The later this run goes, though, I will say they're putting up more of a fight with Mark. Mark going to get right back around him. 6 cars freeing up quite a bit. On corner entry especially. And remember, they made that wedge adjustment. They're taking a half a round out to try to help free it up a little bit during that first pit stop. Just ran his fastest lap, though, 31.350 that last lap after getting by Gordon. That's kind of like the 1998. Well, it wasn't like the 98 season, yes. When we watched that 98 race, Jeff Gordon was awful. He was like 15th at best in that race. I remember he led laps because of track position, because they stayed out on a late race caution. Him and Earnhardt did, and they actually got better finishes as a result. I think they both got top 10s when they were running well outside the top 10 the whole race. Yeah, it was Martin. Rusty Wallace was leading quite a bit in that one. He had a good car, and I think Ricky Rudd was the other driver that was leading a lot of laps, if I remember correctly. That Kenseth up to P2. Sure, he would like to get 5 bonus points for leading his first lap of the day. Probably going to have to wait. I mean, unless he can get by him in the next couple laps, we're going to be seeing some green flag pit stops within a few laps here. And Mark's going to be able to go quite a bit further before he has to pit yet. Mark probably won't pit till anywhere between lap 130 to 140. Right around the halfway mark of this race. Jeff Gordon got back by the 17. to get to second that lap. Johnson and Harvick have picked up their pace a little bit towards the end of this run. We had one caution in the middle of green flag pit stops already, and I'm curious to know if we end up getting another one. Kenseth closing in on the 6. He's all over the back bumper of Mark Martin right now. Got Bass scored for second on the backstretch. He's challenging for the race lead. Martin with a big block. Kenseth has a run into the first turn, but he is not going to be able to use the outside to get by the 6 with the clean air that Martin had. And Jeff Gordon now going back to second again. .320 that last lap. So the crew chief just stated that Robbie Gordon was going to be coming back out onto the track after he blew an engine earlier. He had made his return to pit road, but he has not actually gotten back out onto the track. Maybe a little later he'll come back out, but as of right now, not looking likely. And Flat Vegas put on some good races. We've got another car blowing up on the back straightaway. I couldn't tell who that was. It looked like it might have been Martin Truex Jr., but I'm not entirely sure. Lap 120. Truex trying to make it back to pit road. Yeah, those cautions, these guys were able to save quite a bit of fuel. Our only other mile-and-a-half race track that we have had so far in this season is also a 400-mile race at Kansas. 267 laps, and in that race, we had just one caution right around the halfway mark, so already more than that today in the first half of the race with 3 of them. Looks like at least 4 cars, maybe 5, have blown an engine already in today's race. Nowhere close to the amount that we saw DNF at our truck race at Talladega Wednesday night last week on this game. I think we only had 11 trucks finish the race. That was ridiculous. I've never seen that before in an EA Sports game, honestly. And I'm curious if that's going to be the case when we go to Talladega in the Busch in the Cup Series, which we have not done yet. I think we're 2 races away from Talladega in the Busch Series and a few more races yet on the Cup side before we get there. Jimmy Johnson trying to contest for the lead, and a big block by Martin as he about turned himself getting into turns 3 and 4. Harvick got a pit out of this lead group. That was a dangerous block by Mark Martin as he almost turned himself. Holds on to the lead though. Trying to get every last lap led he can. We haven't seen anybody pass Martin for more than a lap, and it only happened twice where they were able to actually pass him and lead a lap, and that was with Jeff Gordon and Kevin Harvick during the green flag run. Very start it was Biffle, but now it's all Mark Martin in the middle going to this race. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that happens, too. And considering that we had, what, like 6 or 7 cautions in the truck race? Man, how many are we going to have? That was 94 laps. How many are we going to have in a Cup race that's twice as long? Oh, we might end up having like 20 cautions or more. Well, I guess that would be on pace for 14, so it's... If we get a lot of debris yellows, if we get a couple big ones, and look out. We did have one big one in the truck race. Jimmy Johnson pitted the last lap. Jeff Gordon will stay out again. So does Kenseth back there. Behind the 6 of Mark Martin. And honestly, with the 48 pitting and Harvick already making his stop, I'm wondering if those guys will be able to cycle out in front of the rest of the leaders. You'd imagine the longer Mark Martin stays out, further back in traffic, he's going to fall. But he is committed to running long as he did the first run. And he is just focused on trying to lead as many laps as he can. So on the back of the 41 car of Reed Sorensen. Get to the inside of Reed. Into turns 1 and 2. Will complete the pass on the 41 for Chip Ganassi Racing. Dave Blaney, who was involved in that first accident of the day and also caused a second caution with the debris yellow. Back bumper coming apart right in front of Martin. Martin just ran a 31.258 that last lap. Fastest of the day. Jeff Gordon's still out on the track. Now 2 lap cars on fresher tires in front of the 6. Well, Dave Blaney's not on fresher tires. Never mind. He's going to pit now. And the 178 car staying out. Guess we caught some lap cars right at the end of the run. And the 178 staying wide. Matt Kenseth on pit road. That last time by he came in. Martin laps another car. Pulling Jeff Gordon a little bit now. And Gordon will pit this time. Seth Thomas, thanks for tuning in. I could definitely go a little bit longer. We went longer than everybody the last time. And we did have a caution in the middle of green flag pit stops earlier, so just in case that happens again, I'd like to not get trapped a lap down. As a result, we only have 8 cars on the lead lap in this race because of that caution coming out in the middle of green flag stops earlier. Like to make it to at least the halfway mark before pitting, which would be lap 134. Gonna run it a couple more laps. Mark will pit at lap 134, which again is the halfway point of this race. That will be his second stop. Still have some cars making their way onto pit road as we speak. Pretty narrow pit road to get onto off of turn 4 as well, so gonna have to be careful of it. I didn't practice before the start of this race, so we will see how that will come about. 126 car getting up to speed on the bottom of the track after he just pitted. And Mark Martin will be hitting pit road this time by And now we'll stay out one more lap. We'll push it one more. Lap 135, Martin will pit, so he does not pit that time as originally expected. We'll go one more. Past the halfway mark. Really trying to ensure... Oh, that was not a good idea. Okay, well, we're definitely going to lose the lead now. That was my bad on that one. I should have pitted when I said I was going to. We're going to have to take the access road, getting into the pits here, and staying out of the way. Yeah, that's costly. We got a lot of race left in a really fast car, so we should be okay in the grand scheme of things. Martin just limping his way back to pit road. Just didn't have to worry about missing the pits. No adjustments here. 4 tires and fuel for Mark Martin. Whoops. Went a lap too long on that one. I had it calculated fine, and then I just made the stupid decision to stay out 1 lap longer. And it ran out as we were in the middle of turns 1 and 2. Martin was going to lose the lead regardless, staying out as long as he did, but he is going to have to fight back quite a bit of that time. And it'll be Jeff Gordon in the 24 car who is going to be the leader. And Mark Martin will cycle backwards to 8th place, which I believe is the last car in the lead lap. Well, you live and you learn. And we lived and we will learn. I mean, the good news is that wasn't the final stop of the race. And like I said, the car's fast enough that we can get back up there. This does hurt in the sense that, I mean, we have led the most laps so far, and this is going to allow Jeff Gordon to lead quite a few laps. As long as he hangs on to the lead all the way through this run until he pits again. Mark Martin's 10.5 seconds off the lead. Caution would be nice. In this situation. And pushing it that extra lap, I mean, the only thing that does is help us try to make this race on just one more pit stop. Martin about 4/10 quicker than Gordon that last lap. The field is definitely more spaced apart now than they've been this entire race. Jeff Gordon dealing with lap traffic at the front of the field, which is maybe slowing him down a little bit as well. I wonder if Michael Waltrip's still in the lead lap in the 55 car. I guess we'll find out once we get up to him and pass him. Had a great start to the day. Led laps. Was in the top 10 when that first caution came out. But I don't know if he was on the lead lap or not. Had a pole in the Daytona 500 at the start of the season. Mark Martin to the inside of Michael Waltrip, and that is for position, so Michael's good run continues. He'll fall back to 8th place, though. Yeah, I've seen that. I haven't played NASCAR 08 or NASCAR 09 before, but I do know that they have the race ticker. I believe Dale Jarrett is on the lead lap. J.J. Yaley and Dave Blaney are not. They're both a lap down. I don't know how I'm going to have my points ticker on the top of the screen with that ticker. I'm trying to figure something out. I mean, I can have it at the bottom of the screen, but the problem is with that is that it takes up some of the screen for the racing. At least it being on the top, it's above the rearview mirror. There's no cars up there. That looks more natural at the top anyway. Dale Jarrett was another spot for Mark Martin on his way of trying to drive back up through the field again here. He is in 6th place as a result in the number 6. He's been in the top 10 all day today. But it is Jeff Gordon who leads right now. Mark dominating the middle portion of today's race. Stayed out of lap too long, ran out of gas as a result, and that's why he fell 10.5 seconds off the lead once he was able to coast his way back to pit road. Hendrick Motorsports dominating the Busch Series season right now, but they have not won a race in the Cup side yet. Chevrolet as a whole hasn't. Only Ford and Dodge have gone to victory lane of the 3 manufacturers in the first 4 races. Martin 3 times for Ford, and Jeremy Mayfield at Bristol in a Dodge. Mayfield had a good start to today's race, qualified well, but kind of nowhere to be found now. So we progress our way a little bit past the halfway point. Martin getting by the lap cars of Jeff Green and Paul Menard. Jeff Green in the top 10 in points through the first 4 races. Once we get about 9 races into the season, a quarter of the way through, you're going to see the point standings really start to shake up quite a bit. So probably seeing some drivers up there that you aren't typically used to seeing, like a Jeremy Mayfield in the top 5. I mean, that's one thing if it was his Penske days back in the early 2000s, late 90s, but not so much with the Evernham days. Not top 5 at least. We won a few races. And I know he qualified for the Chase in 04. Mark Martin on the inside of Dale Earnhardt Jr. for 5th. And actually, no, Dale Jr. is a lap down. 3 wide off of turn 2. I don't know if any of those guys are on the lead lap up ahead or not. They're still 3 wide into 3. I want to say the 2 cars on the outside are probably a lap down. The Sterling Marlin and the 178 car that were up on the outside. So they're definitely both a lap down. Maybe 2 laps down at this point. And Brian Vickers in the 25. Or actually, no, they're all lap cars. It's the 126. It's right there. It's going to be 3 wide again as it's Marlin in the middle lane. This time it is a lead lap car in the bottom of Mark Martin, though, as he passes all 3 lap cars through turns 3 and 4. We are down to 114 laps to go in tonight's race at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, the UAW Daimler Chrysler 400 on NASCAR 07. We'll have a Busch Series race at Milwaukee tomorrow night, 250 laps. That'll start at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Wednesday night, a NASCAR 7 Cup race, 50% race at that at Pocono. And our Throwback Thursday live stream on Thursday this week. That's our upcoming schedule. No live commentary streams this weekend. I'll be at Talladega for all of the weekend activities. So there will be race highlight videos from the grandstands from the ARCA, Xfinity, and Cup Series this weekend. Maybe some individual video uploads as well this weekend from the track, but no live commentary this week as a result. We'll get back to the live commentary streams the following week when NASCAR goes to Dover for the Xfinity and the Cup Series. I'll be back home for that. Mark Martin going to try to battle Tony Stewart for 5th. Just less than 5 seconds off the race lead right now. Gets to the inside. Way down on the bottom. Very low off the exit of turn 2. Very low in the middle of the corner like he has been, but he didn't really walk up the racetrack at all. Stewart crowded him, and he was able to keep it off of him and stay in the throttle. And now clears him off turn 4 for 5th. So Mark Martin has rallied back to the top 5 after falling back to 8th place after green flag pit stops. When he pitted at lap 135, he ran out of gas trying to push it a lap longer than his originally scheduled pit stop lap number, which was lap 134. And then he ran out of gas in the middle of turns 1 and 2, and it's what relegated him back to 8th. Probably would have lost the lead in maybe a couple positions, staying out a little bit longer than the rest of the field. Those older tires, but obviously wouldn't have gone 10.5 seconds off the lead and fell all the way back to 8th. Yeah, Mark will be in the Busch Series race tomorrow. We will not be driving as of though we were driving as Jimmy Johnson in that Busch Series season. Trying to win Johnson his first career Xfinity title. 20 likes on the stream so far tonight. We've got around that many people watching right now. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. 60% of viewers on the channel over the last 28 days are not subscribed, so greatly appreciate it if you guys smash that like button and hit the subscribe button. So we're on the road to 5,000 subs. Just hit 4,000 a little over a week ago. Three wide and all for position. Harvick, Kenseth, and Johnson. And they'll still be 3 wide in it. Nope, not quite. Never mind. I lied. Kevin Harvick ended up backing out of it. And Kenseth's going to clear the 48, so they'll actually be single file off turn 4. But as they battle, Mark Martin closing in much quicker. Jeff Gordon's really widened the gap over these cars during this run. He's got about a 3.5 to 4 second lead. Kenseth stuck behind Greg Biffle, who I believe is a lap down. Getting trapped a lap down. He dominated the early going to the race, but got trapped a lap down with the first caution, which was in the middle of those first green flag stops of the day. Everybody has pitted twice in this one so far. I don't even know if Mark's going to be able to get to Jeff Gordon before we have pit stops again. A little contact in the tri-oval there between Martin and Harvick. And Harvick definitely didn't give the 6 a lot of room. Martin squeezes underneath of Harvick that time. Oh boy, a little bit of contact with the 48 now. So he was trying to side draft him and he got into him. And Mark's up to 4th. And I guess Kevin Harvick isn't on the lead lap. Greg Biffle is. So Harvick is actually lapped down. So I guess he never actually got 5 bonus points then when he passed Martin towards the beginning of that restart into this long green flag run. How strong Roush Fenway Racing has been in this race today, you'd have to bet one of their cars are going to win, whether it's Mark Martin for a 4th time already this year, or even Greg Biffle. Kenseth hasn't led yet, but he is in 4th. Martin quickly to the inside of the 16. Biffle going to let his teammate go. And Martin is up to 2nd. Biffle should be able to get to the bottom well in time before Kenseth can get there. Percentage bar means that's for the skill points to unlock Chase Place, which like unlock fantasy tracks, the paint schemes, different paint schemes in the game for each driver. Sponsors for the career mode, fantasy drivers that you can race as, and what's the other one? Oh, like different types of tracks like Night Martinsville, like a bunch of other stuff that wasn't around at this time of the game. Pole awards where basically you can unlock stuff that automatically puts you on the pole for the start of the race. Specific tracks. So it's already filled up to 100%. 100% races, it's really easy to do that. Just by passing cars cleanly, it fills up. Leading laps, which we've done a lot of in this race today. Share drafting, bump drafting. If you're slower than another car, letting them pass you. Like if you're a lap down. Or my bad, that fills the share draft, or the ally meter. That doesn't fill the skill point. Letting cars pass you. You actually lose points if they pass you. So about halfway out of gas for Martin during this point in the run. It's definitely taken him a long time to try to run Jeff Gordon down. Gordon got way out ahead of the rest of the leaders. Mark obviously up to 2nd right now. Gordon's still out in front. Gordon working with a lap car right now, or working against a lap car. Struggling to try to make a pass, and Mark's really closed that gap down, just over a 2nd off the lead at this point in the run. Jeff Gordon's starting to get into the percentage of leading the 2nd most laps in this race today behind Mark Martin. And by the way, we have just hit 100 laps to go. That last time we crossed the start-finish line, so we'll have 99 laps left at the line this time by. It's looking like definitely everybody's going to have to pit at least once. There's a chance with how long Mark Martin took that last run that he can make it on one more stop. But it's going to be really close. Honestly, we couldn't run that first run out as far as we wanted to with the cautions coming out. And I think that has hindered our chances of trying to make this race on 3 stops. Gordon finally lapped the car he was sitting behind, but it took him a while. He has given up a lot of that bottom through turns 3 and 4. And this fantasy driver behind him might have a chance to get back underneath Gordon. And if he does, that is going to cost Jeff. And Mark is really going to have a big run now off of turn 2. Martin to the inside of the lap car into 3 and 4. And he'll pull alongside Gordon off the exit of the corner. And Mark Martin should lead this lap at the line. He does by inches. Gordon trying to hang on the outside. Mark Martin, who's had the superior long run car today, has ran down Gordon again. And again, it is Mark Martin passing Jeff Gordon for the lead for the second different time. Martin out in front at Las Vegas with about 97 coming on 96 to go. Makes me feel like it's not as late outside. I'm not used to it getting dark as late. Kind of found that out when I was golfing after work last week a couple days. And I got done with 9 holes. I was driving home. I'm like, man, it's like 7:30. It's still light outside. Looking outside my window now, and there's still a little bit of sun peeking through. 7:30. We were just a couple months ago. We were starting these races in the night at 6, and now these races are finishing before it gets dark out. Well, this one probably won't, with it being a cup race, but times are changing. I'll tell you what, Jeff Gordon is having a very difficult time battling with that lap car. It has really allowed Mark to not only pass Gordon, but pull away from him quite a bit. He's out to a 7/10 of a second lead. And Brian Vickers just up ahead is Gordon's teammate. I wonder if he'll try to make it difficult for Martin to lap him and maybe allow the 24 to get back into this again. Corey Free, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, it actually snowed in my house earlier today, too. It was 84 degrees outside 2 days ago when I was on the golf course on Saturday afternoon before the Xfinity race. And today it was a high of 44. And that was like overnight. And I think like throughout the day, it's been like right around 30. The wind chill's been in the low 20s. And it was actually flurrying outside for like an hour or two earlier today. Obviously, it wasn't sticking to the ground. Ground's pretty warm with the warmer weather we've had. Only in Northwest Ohio, it could literally be 50 degrees cooler. I mean, even yesterday I golfed and it was 77. And then we started getting thunderstorms like right before the start of the Cup race around like 2 o'clock or so it rolled in. And then when it got done raining, it was like 50 degrees outside. But it was 77 when I was out on the course before that late morning. Crazy. It's literally 40 degrees colder where I live today than what it was yesterday. During the same time. Wind chill's like 50 degrees colder. Yeah, so unfortunately I couldn't golf as a result today, and I'm probably not going to be able to golf tomorrow either, because it's going to be 54, I think, tomorrow, which I would golf in temperature-wise, but it's supposed to be like 30-mile-an-hour winds, so it's going to feel like it's in the 30s again tomorrow, so I'm definitely not doing that. I golfed when it was windy yesterday when it was still warm outside. That's one thing, but yeah, not when it's cooler. Vickers on the outside of a fantasy driver, just like Jeff Gordon still is back there, and I think Kenseth's actually starting to reel him in for third. Kenseth the Biffle. Johnson in the top 5 back there yet as well. 1.2 second lead for Mark Martin. We're lap 180. We'll probably be seeing some green flag pit stops very shortly here. If Mark Martin could get to around lap 200 before he pits, I think he can go to the very end of this race running this thing out as far as he can. Now, we also don't know if we're going to get another caution before the end of the day, because that is very well possible. And if we do get in a situation where caution comes out, if you're Mark, I think you're going to have to pit. Regardless if it's before you pit the third time or after. Second and a half lead for the 6 of Mark Martin as he tries to go for his 4th win in the first 5 races of the season. Yeah, and it's actually going back on the golf thing. You were talking about having a golf break. Yeah, I have to take off, obviously, these couple days. We're able to play Wednesday. Thursday, it's going to be in the 80s again, but it's going to be super windy, like 40-mile-an-hour gusts. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to go there because I have to work on Thursday, so I know when I get off it's going to be windy. Versus, like, I couldn't go in the morning before it, like, really picks up in the afternoon, unfortunately, so I don't know if I'm going to play there. The temperature is supposed to be warmer in Talladega next weekend, so I'll definitely golf on the road. I know Friday on my drive down there is supposed to be like 78 around Knoxville, no rain, so I'm going to play golf there. There's this course called the Centennial that I like playing at. I've actually played there the last 3 years I've gone to Talladega, so this will be the 4th year in a row I played that course. It's really nice. But I played there in the spring. This will be the spring, the second time I played there, and then I played there in the fall a couple times. So I haven't like played there in the summer. But pretty nice course. So if you're ever in like the Knoxville area, I want to say Kingsport is exactly where it's at, which is like a suburb of Knoxville. So if you're ever around the area, it's a really nice course to go. It's only $37 for a cart and a full 18 holes of golf, which honestly is like most courses around here, but it is like a really nice, it's open to the public, but it is very, very nice. You know, when you have the GPS on the golf cart, you know it's a nice course. But for $37 to play there, that is, and that's on the weekend too. Like, that's weekend charge. Clubhouse, they got a ton of food to eat in there. It's basically like a restaurant. It's a really, really nice course for a very affordable price too. It's not like a lot of like professional courses where you go and you're paying like $100 to play around at like TPC Scottsdale or something, or you know, even like $70 is what I paid for TPC Myrtle Beach when I went to Darlington a couple years ago. That it is well worth the money. Honestly, you can play like 2 rounds for the price I paid for TPC. I just not staying in Knoxville the entire time. I obviously on the way to Dega, so it's just kind of like a quick couple-hour stop to play around to golf. But I highly recommend going there though if like you're ever on I-75 and going towards Knoxville or have to go through it and you have extra time. Yeah, it's a great price, honestly. I want to start doing vlogs for my road trips, so you guys will probably be able to see a little bit of that this weekend. It's a really nice course. It's very challenging because it's in the hills and in the mountains. A lot of elevation changes. It's a tough course, so it's a nice course. So a lot of nice courses are really tough. Why can't there ever be like easy courses that are really nice looking? Yep, we got green flag pit stops going on right now. Mark gonna try to stretch this run to see if he can make it on one stop. Who would have thought from when those 3 cautions came out in the early going back to back to back that it would force us into a potential fuel mileage race? Martin took it as long as he could the last time. As a result, he would probably have a bigger lead than a second and a half before Gordon ended up hitting pit road. But I don't think Mark is going to be able to make this thing on 3 stops. He's going to try to make it to lap 200, which would be 65 laps. and he would have to go 67 to the end. So it is looking like Mark Martin's going to be short. Now, if he could go to lap 201, then it would be 66 and 66 to the finish. That is doable, so Mark may try to stretch this out to lap 201 before hitting pit road. And I know he ran out of gas the last time, but if he's going to make it to the end of this race on fuel, he's going to have to do it that way. Otherwise, he's going to have to pit an extra stop, which everybody's looking like pitting an extra stop anyway, but really try to put this thing out of reach. Why pit the extra time if you don't have to? Watch, they say it's $37. Watch, they jack their rates up to like 43 or something like that this year when I go there. I'm pretty sure it was 37 all 3 years I've gone, though. And I know Tennessee state tax is cheaper than Ohio's, too, so that's another reason why it kind of seems cheaper to me to play there. Going from a state where, you know, like the minimum wage is higher than what it is in Tennessee. That's not that I'm making minimum wage, but the pay rate, average pay rate is higher. When you go to nice courses like in that state or like in Alabama where, you know, they don't make as much, you know, money averagely compared to like Ohio, then you can play nicer courses for a lot cheaper. Mark Martin trying to stretch it to lap 201 to go 66 and 66 to the end on fuel. It's going to be tough. Had to go a little bit wide off of turn 4 there with Jeff Burton pitting in front of him. I mean, if we do end up making it to lap 201, then pushing it to lap 135 like we did earlier is actually going to end up working out for us, even though we ran out of gas, just because that will open it up to potentially make it on fuel with just that one stop to the end. We are definitely looking like we are going to have a fuel mileage race here today at Las Vegas. Unless we get any late race cautions that push us into a different circumstance. Honestly, knowing we have the speed, I'm going to run this thing until it's dry. Because I did it the last time, and obviously ran out in a bad spot in 1 and 2, but obviously we got back to the lead and had a second half lead before the stops this next time by. And if we have to pit one more time to the end, I know I can make that time back up. So the plan is going to be to run it at least until lap 201. If I make it to lap 201 then I'm not going to run it till it's dry because there's no point. We'd only have to go another 66 to the end from that point, but got to get there first. Martin to the inside of Sorensen. Going to lap the 41 once again. Now Mark Martin is the last car on the lead lap and obviously is the leader, so everybody else is already pitted. So he is the only one that is looking like they could make it on 3 stops. A lot of clean air in front of the 6 right now. We're down to 70 laps to go. 69 laps left at the line this time. Mark blowing by the pit entrance off turn 4, and he is out. So he is not going to be able to make it to the end on fuel, and he's going to have to coast it even longer around the racetrack this time, unfortunately. Down on the apron of the racetrack. And he'll have to take the excess road to the pit lane this time by as well. That is a tough break for Mark Martin. He's going a long, long way around the... Wow, 3 wide around him to the outside there off turn 2. I think he is all the way on the bottom trying to stay out of the way. He is losing even more time. So he's definitely going to have to pit before the end because we're not going to be able to go 69 laps. So this will be the second to last stop. It will be 4 tires and fuel for Mark Martin. This is just a creeping pace back to pit road, even more than what it was before. And it'll be another 4-tire stop and no adjustments on the 6. So 68 laps he'll have to go on fuel if he wanted to make it to the end, but he definitely won't make it that far. Couldn't even go 65 laps that time, so... Here we go. Greg Biffle actually cycles to the lead following the green flag pit stops. That's pretty remarkable, honestly. Mark Martin in 10th is still on the lead lap, but he is at the very tail end of the lead lap. Just staying in front of Joe Nemechek, getting into 3 and 4. Wow, 30 seconds off the lead. I mean, we're only going to have to take a splash and go when we do pit. We could get a 4th caution, obviously, that bunches the field back together. Not sure how much of this run Mark's going to be able to try to run these guys down, but... I don't know. Try to get Greg Biffle to slow his lap times up a little bit at this point in the run. Jeff Gordon to the lead. This is the first time Biffle has led since the first caution of the race. All the way back at lap 66. He lost the lead a few laps before that anyway to Martin at the time. So it's about the first time since lap 58 that Biffle led. He led a few laps, cycling to the lead through the green flag pit stops, and then Jeff Gordon back out in front now. So the rest of the field is probably going to pit right around lap 240. Some will go just beyond that. Some will pit just before lap 240. That's kind of about the threshold where we'll see everybody else cycle back onto pit road again. For Mark Martin, it will be a splash and go only stop. And I'm going to make sure I remember to do that by going into the settings real quick. Pit options. Yeah, so going to try to minimize the amount of time we're going to be on pit road for during that final stop. That'll get us some time back, but I don't know. We can't short pit to get it over with because of how far off the race lead we are. We'll go a lap down. I think we have to pit with everybody else, though. There's only 10 cars on the lead lap, so there's no real incentive to staying out longer than everybody else. Two of the Missouri courses along I-70. I wish I would have played at Gateway when I was there. I didn't realize they had a golf course like right next to the racetrack until I was there that day for the Cup race. And they were actually open during the actual race too, because it literally said parking only for, you know, golfers or whatever. So like they were actually active, so I could have played the morning of the race. Left for the track at like 6 a.m. or something, played around at golf, and then just walked to the track because it was literally right there. It was basically on, I mean, it was separate property, but it's like right with the racetrack. I mean, I would have had to walk my clubs like to the car and then find another place to park and walk to the track because I couldn't have stayed in the parking lot at the actual golf course. I could have while I was playing golf, but not during the race. So it would have been tough kind of pulling out and trying to find parking somewhere else, going basically the complete opposite direction. Probably would have had to circle all the way back around. I remember trying to find a parking spot. It was kind of chaotic as it was. I got there like 3 hours early and I didn't actually get into the racetrack until like 45 minutes before the race started. That's how backed up parking was. And I parked so far away from the track too, in like a camping area, because wasn't really much available. It's clear Mark Martin's got the fastest car on the racetrack right now. Problem is, though, he's still 26 seconds off the race lead. I mean, we fell into that trap once, that's one thing, but falling into that a second time, yeah, that wasn't the right strategy call for us. We're still going to get a top 10 finish out of it. I definitely think it is possible to get a top 5 still with going gas and go only on the final stop. We could get a caution, which bails Mark Martin out as well. He's about 3/10 quicker than Jeff Gordon that last lap. Everybody will have to make one more pit stop today. Mark Martin would have to go 68 laps on fuel to make it to the end of this race. Should be further than he has gone on a full tank of fuel all day. I'm not going to try to save right now. I'll know around the time when they pit if I feel like I'm going to try to save and push it. But I definitely don't want to do it now. I want to see how much we can eat into this lead first, because we are going to gain time through pit stops going fuel only. Knowing we can literally go until a couple laps left in this race before we have to pit. We have had 3 cautions already in the race, but it has been an awfully long time since the last one. In fact, if we go green all the way to the end of this race, it's going to be a 188 lap green flag run to the checker. Martin taking the dive. He can't waste any time. Gets under Casey Kane, Kyle Busch. Both cars are a lap down. Clears Busch off of turn 2. Martin just ran his fastest lap, 31.258 that last lap. 126 car giving the 6 a lot of room. Almost too much room down on the bottom. Didn't have to be quite that generous. Appreciate it though. Makes my life easier. Very close to the grass in turns 3 and 4. Mark definitely running an aggressive line right now. We're down to 49 laps to go. He's 23.7 seconds off the lead. He's put together some of his fastest times of the races we saw moments ago. If he doesn't catch a caution, he's going to have to make a lot of ground up here at the end of this race. With Gordon leading again, there is still no guarantee that Mark Martin has clinched the most laps led in this race. Jeff Gordon may still have a chance at getting the most laps led. Another quickest lap, 31.252, so he's ran his fastest lap of the day twice in the last 3 laps. A lot of cars giving up the bottom as they race each other tightly in that middle to upper groove. It's allowing Mark Martin to get by on the bottom. Dives by the 12. Newman, who was involved in that first yellow, brought out the last caution as well with debris. Mark Martin battles Jeremy Mayfield. Mayfield looking for 3 straight top 10 finishes. Coming off that win at Bristol in the Food City 500 last week, Mark Martin clears him for 9th. Well, it's another spot forward if we do get a late race caution. 3 wide up ahead with a lot of battling, almost 4 wide in the middle of 3 and 4. Most of those cars probably a lap down. There's no teammates anywhere in front of Jeff Gordon that try to have somebody work with Mark. Tried to get Biffle to work with him, but that was a while ago. Jamie McMurray's occupied 3 wide middle right now with a couple cars he's around. Mark is 22 seconds off the lead. Three wide goes Mark Martin on the inside. Jamie McMurray, 4th position. And he was the only driver that was actually passed for position out of the 4 that Mark Martin got by that last lap. Now Mark's staying out longer, is on slightly fresher tires on top of having the quickest car in the field, which is why he's making up as much time as quickly as he is. Yeah, I'm not looking at saving fuel yet. I'm still, as of right now, in the strategy of not trying to push it to the end of this race. Because we're eating into that lead. We probably still have about 20 more laps until Gordon's going to pit. I mean, there's still 42 laps to go. I don't know that Mark is necessarily out of this race yet. It's going to be a pit strategy win, but it's not going to be because of fuel mileage this time. If Mark Martin gets a strategy win here at Las Vegas in a race that he probably deserved to win based off speed, but they did not execute the middle portion of this race by any means on multiple occasions. A lot of clean air in front of the 6 now after getting by Dave Blaney in the 22. Can help Mark Martin out a little bit. 20.5 seconds off the lead. He was only about 2/10 quicker than Gordon that last lap. Very low on the entry into 3 and 4. 1 and 2, sorry. Gordon's led more laps. I mean, we led a lot in the first half of the race. That's the only reason why I feel like we have a chance, but Gordon's definitely led a lot these last two fuel runs. This one right now and the one before that. I mean, I could stay out and get the most laps led, but I like to pit the same time as him. The problem is they're going to have fresher tires once they do pit. And I don't know if Mark's going to be able to really eat into that gap much more once the leaders do hit pit road. .8 seconds back. He is praying that Jeff Gordon catches some heavy lap traffic. We're going to have Jamie McMurray try to help us. He's falling back, and he'll continue to fall back. There's only 10 cars on the lead lap. Maybe even less than that now, depending on if Jeff Gordon was able to catch Jeremy Mayfield. I'm hoping that Mark will be able to catch Gordon if McMurray can hold Gordon up a little bit. Give you advice for Kansas Speedway. I mean, it's not like... It's not that much different from like a Michigan race. From an atmosphere standpoint, I will say the actual like facility itself is a lot nicer. A lot of the seats have like cup holders. I don't know if you've ever like been to Bristol or not, but Bristol there's like cup holders in front of like a lot of the seats in the lower area of the racetrack. Kansas, it's like that most of the track. I know at least where I sat there was, but it seemed like it was like that most of the way around the track. You're sitting high enough up, you'll definitely have like a lot of leg room, which is nice for me because I'm really tall. I appreciate that. Caught the 137, passed him quickly. Yeah, actually, they were like one of the few tracks that did have cell phone service. I was pleased about that. Usually most tracks you go to, you're not going to get that, but Kansas, I had a lot of cell phone service. For sure my 5G was working pretty nicely. Guarantee I won't be having that at Talladega this weekend. Place is out in the middle of nowhere. Out in the boonies. .8 seconds back, lap 234. Now, this was when Biffle was leading, obviously, not when Gordon was leading. I think Martin was about 26 seconds off the lead when Gordon took the race lead away from Biffle, but He was 30 seconds behind Biffle when he first cycled off of pit road at lap 199. Mark on fresher tires, running that last run as far as he could. He's going to be on older tires at the end of the race once everybody else makes their final stop. Mark was 4/10 quicker than Jeff Gordon, the race leader, that last lap. Getting as close to the grass as possible without touching it. Pushed a little bit wide off the exit of turn 2. Michigan was the same. What, with cell phone service? I never get reception when I'm at Michigan. Some of it could be my phone, too. I've never gotten reception when I'm there. Especially in the grandstands. So if I was getting it at Kansas, then you should be perfectly fine there. Unless you're talking about like Michigan being out in the middle of nowhere, then yes, in that case it's the same thing. .31 to go. 16.5 seconds back is Mark Martin in the 6. Trying to eat into Jeff Gordon's lead. Gordon trying to be the first Chevrolet to go to victory lane this season. I don't remember if I got food when I was at Kansas, honestly. I probably did, but I can't remember exactly. Jimmy Johnson has actually ran down Jeff Gordon. They're battling for position right now, which is helping Mark Martin. So Johnson and Gordon battling for the race lead with 30 to go. .15 seconds off the lead for Mark Martin. Definitely not going to be taking the access road when I do have to pit. Pass on Jeff Burton was for position, I do believe. Mark Martin now up to 7th. Didn't realize Jeff Burton was one of the cars on the lead lap. Good run for him in the 31. I think Elliott Sadler's for position just up ahead. I know Dale Jarrett is. I don't know about Sadler. Sadler trying to hold the bottom for his teammate. Yeah, Sadler not a spot. Mark going to try to take it 3 wide underneath Brian Vickers and Dale Jarrett. Into turns 1 and 2. Mark Martin is up to 6th. Flatline the entry, clear in the center. Michael Waltrip back up to 5th place again. Great run for the 55. Best run of the season for Waltrip. Matt Kenseth in the 17 just up ahead. That's a spot. Johnson and Gordon 1-2. Sadler just pitted off turn 4, so green flag pit stops will begin at lap 241 into 242. 25 laps to go this time by. Big block by the lap car down on the bottom. Mark Martin did not need that. Oh, he got into him! Up the hill, into the wall. No caution, we stay green. Oh my goodness. That would have been bad if that was the way we got the caution. Martin to 5th as he gets by Kenseth, now trying to pass Waltrip for 4th. Got him. Man, if Michael Waltrip could get a top 5 at Las Vegas, what a run for MWR today. He's the highest running Dodge. Only one in the top 5, and then Mayfield the only other one in the top 10. So Mark Martin has rallied to 4th. And Mark Martin is now only 13 seconds behind Jimmy Johnson. It will be a fuel-only stop for Martin when he pits. I wonder if Jamie McMurray has held up Johnson during this green flag run as well. .23 laps to go. Fastest lap of the day for Martin that last time, 31.238. Couldn't go to the apron with the lap car coming out of the pits in the 178 this time. So drive around him up on the outside. We'll clear him off turn 2. So he can get back down to that tight line down on the bottom into 3 and 4. Really get the car all the way down there though that time. 22 laps left. I mean, Mark Martin's making this thing interesting. 12 seconds off the lead. Jimmy Johnson still hasn't pit. Johnson is coming in this time. Greg Biffle will consume the race lead. He was not that far behind the 48. So now Biffle is out in front. Martin's about 9 seconds behind the Biff. Quarter of a tank of gas left at this point in the run for Martin. 20 to go this time by. He's in third. Jeff Gordon would be the second place car right now. So Biffle caught back up to Gordon during the run, as well as obviously Johnson. Johnson pitted from the lead, so he's going to try to cycle back out in front again. Biffle stays out at least one more lap. And Jeff Gordon just hit pit road that time, so Martin's up to second. 8.5 seconds. He was about 6/10 quicker than Biffle that last lap. Mark, slightly fresher tires than the Biff. He's going to pit the same lap the 16 car does. Biffle staying out again, so Mark will stay out again. It's mainly so Mark doesn't go a lap down in case we get a late caution. Kenseth's coming in from behind the 6. 31.219, fastest lap of the day for Mark Martin. Tony Stewart down on the apron. Mark has to change his line in the middle of the corner. That hurt his speed. Through turns 1 and 2. He'll clear Stewart off the exit of the corner, though. Greg Biffle will stay out of the pits again, so will Mark Martin. 18 laps to go at Las Vegas. It is not a fuel mileage race, but it is a pit strategy race where Martin will have to take fuel only in the hopes that he'll definitely close the gap a little more with the fuel only stop. I don't know if he's going to be able to actually win this race. He's going to rally to get a top 5. Wow. Tight line, close to the grass again. Martin's trying. Just under 7 seconds behind Biffle. Overdrove turn 1. Floated the entry towards about half a lane higher than what he would have liked to have ran. Maybe even a full lane. Same thing through 3 and 4. Greg Biffle stays out of the pits again. Dale Jr. pit from just up ahead. He's a lap down. Biffle and Martin caught a caution right now. That would be perfect for these two. Surprised Greg Biffle's going as long as he has. He had a strong car at the very early going of the race. It took him a long time to catch up and take the lead. Biffle is staying out again. 15 laps to go at the line. How long will the 16 car stay out of the pits? Longer he stays out, the longer Mark Martin stays out. Martin now just less than 6 seconds behind the 16. Biffle's really pushed it very far. He's going to push it at least one more lap. 5.2 seconds. 0.7 quicker than Biffle was Mark Martin the last lap. Mark hasn't really had to deal with any lap traffic in a while, and Biffle is now coming in. As he pits, Mark Martin will pit, trying to get all he can off turn 4, can't speed. 70 miles per hour is the pit road speed limit. Martin is in. And it will be gas and go only for the 6. Splash and go, really. Just a quarter tank of gas to try to get him to the end. So it sounds like Mark Martin has just clinched the most laps led in the race today. Took a while, but he did just clinch the most laps led. I think he led that lap at the line with Greg Biffle on pit road in front of him. Mark will cycle out in front of Biffle at least with the fuel-only stop. Where will Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson be? Oh my goodness, this would be amazing if Mark Martin could get to the lead here. What a strategy call to go fuel only. There's McMurray. He's got it. I mean, Martin has cycled to the lead with the splash and go stop. Now the question is will they run him down on fresher tires as we have 12 laps to go? It is a 3-second lead for Mark Martin. And he's got the oldest tires in the field. Trying to have McMurray block for us, and he doesn't want to. He's trying to get back on the lead lap. I believe he's in the 10th place position then. Possibility he's still in 9th. 3.4 seconds ahead. Well, that was a good call. Splash and go. Gets Martin the lead. Clinches him the most laps led. And now with 10 to go, he's trying to hold on. And he was very even with the second place car that last lap. It is very much a 3-car battle for second between Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, and Greg Biffle. Martin's just hoping it stays great to the end because he doesn't want to restart on these older tires in front of the rest of the field. Be in danger of losing a lot of spots, and he'd be forced to stay out too because he would fall back to at least 8th. If he were to pit, he'd be the only car to pit. Wasn't perfect execution by any means today for Mark Martin. It's good enough execution. He was a 10th quicker than second place that last lap. Even on about 30 to 40 lap older tires. He is putting down a blistering pace. Looks like he didn't need a caution to get back into this. But he did need to go fuel only because 4 tires, and even 2 tires for that matter, would have made the stop about an extra 5 seconds. I don't know. Well, yeah, obviously 5 seconds he wouldn't even be the leader, so he was going to have to go fuel only to try the strategy, but he was definitely close enough to the leaders to do it. The win at Kansas came on a pit strategy race in race number 3. And this Vegas win's going to come on strategy as well, even though he led a lot more laps today than what he did at Kansas. I think he only led around 30 laps at Kansas. And it'll be over half the race today at Vegas. will Mark finish second in the championship again? Can you imagine? I'd feel so terrible for myself and for Mark Martin if that happened. I feel like I'd be doing him a disservice. Five laps to go. 4-second lead. Fuel will make it to the end, no problem. With the splash and go. Even if we have a green-white checker finish and go past the scheduled distance. Have an opportunity at one attempt in this game. So Martin needs to see the white flag. The next flag would end the race. Well, actually, I should say no cautions come out on the final lap in this game, so... It'd be good if he could just see the white flag. He just ran his fastest lap, 31.185. Another 0.2 quicker than second that last lap. Running his fastest laps on the oldest tires he's been on all day. Funny how that works out. 3 wide behind him with the lap traffic. He's really hoping they make it. And they merge back to single file as soon as possible. 3 to go. 4.5 miles from pay dirt. Two to go at the line. Stuck behind Ryan Newman in the 12. He's got damage on his car, but a massive lead here for Mark. Doesn't have to really push the issue. It's going to be 3 wide underneath Reed Sorensen and Ryan Newman. Newman clears the 41 as well as the 6 off turn 2. Mark Martin wants to see that white flag. Off of turn 4. He's got it. 1 lap to go, a 4.5 second lead. And Mark Martin, when you look at the laps led in the statistics sheet, it's going to look like he dominated this race today. And while he dominated the middle portion, it took strategy at the end that helped him get to victory lane when it all mattered the most. And Mark Martin will win his first 4 out of 5 races in this NASCAR 07 campaign. Checkered flag waves. Martin wins the UAW Daimler Chrysler 400 at the flat Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And all 4 Roush cars finish inside the top 8. All had fast race cars today. Martin the fastest of them. And gets the win. Getting a little bit better at these burnouts. Oh man, look at that. That's a smoke show, baby. There we go. That's my best burnout, I think, from any series in this game. We're getting more practice the more we win. I remember I wasn't very good at them at first when I was at Dover. Daytona was a little easy, you know, just kind of slid through the grass, but Dover, it was pretty bad. We're getting better with Mark Martin on these victory burnouts here, the more and more wins we get in the early go to the season. Jimmy Johnson has his 3rd runner-up finish in the first 5 races, so even though I've won 4 of the first 5, Johnson's still only going to be like 100 points out of first, and you could score up to 190 points in a single race under this points format. Johnson's finished second 3 times. He's finished in the top 5 in the first 5 races. I don't think he's finished worse than 4th. I think 3 seconds, a 3rd, and a 4th for Johnson already this year. That's insane in and of itself. I mean, we literally have to perform as well as we have at the start of the season to win the championship, and I don't know how I'm going to keep this up over the long haul, but we're going to try it. Started last, we won. I thought I led more laps than what I did, honestly. We led 105 laps, which was the most laps led, but Gordon came very close to that total. Johnson led 20, finishes second from the pole after getting a second pole this season today. Greg Biffle started second, finishes 3rd with 46 laps led. Tony Stewart finished 4th, and Matt Kenseth rounds out the top 5. He's the only Roush car not to lead a lap today, but 3 of them in the top 5. Michael Waltrip, impressive run, led 7 laps very early in the race, started 6th, finished 6th, great run for the 55 team. Dale Jarrett finishes 7th, and he was the last car in the lead lap, so just 7 cars finished on the lead lap today. And there you see Jamie McMurray, who led 6 laps early in the race, finishes 8th after starting 25th, great run for him. Jeremy Mayfield finished 9th, 3 straight top 10s for Mayfield, and Dale Jr. rounds out the top 10, led 1 lap during green flag stops today and finished in 10th. See who all DNF'd. We had quite a few that failed to finish this race today due to engine failures. David Stremme, Robbie Gordon, McGee, Tyson, Wagner, Jefferson, Paul Menard, Joe Nemechek, and Jeff Gordon blew an engine late in this race. So I think that's how Johnson took the lead in the late going with about 30 to go. I think Gordon blew an engine and Johnson took the lead after that and ended up with a second place finish. Wow. Tough break. Tony Raines blew an engine as well. Casey Kane blew an engine in the closing laps. 11 drivers DNF'd at today's race. Quite a few of them in a 400-mile race. It wasn't even 500 miles. We had a lot of engine failures. But yeah, Jeff Gordon led a lot of laps in this one. Looked like it was going to be between Martin and Gordon. And honestly, if he didn't blow that engine, I wonder if we would have cycled ahead of Gordon because he had a pretty decent gap, I think, built up over Johnson and Biffle. I'm not going to say we wouldn't have won if Gordon finished, but there's a good possibility that Jeff Gordon could have ended up winning this. He did not, though. It's going to be Mark Martin who wins it instead. Let's go. And we'll check out, the updated point standings. E180 Techno, thanks for watching as well. See you in the chat. All right, so it's going to be a 100-lap race at Pocono for the Pocono 250 for our next event. It'll be our first 50% race out of 4 of them on the season. So fuel only stopped there at the end, and we came out with about a 4.5-second lead and won the race. Actually, came out with about a 3.1-second lead. We actually pulled away there in the closing lap still. Came out of the pits with 12 to go. Splash and go wins it. So Mark Martin, 95-point lead over Johnson. Even with, second or better in 5 races, we won 4 of those 5, and we only have a 95-point lead over Jimmy Johnson. Like just over half worth of points, race worth of points ahead of Johnson, so he's still very much in contention. But Ken's at 3rd, he's 208 back. Jamie McMurray 6th in points. He's actually ahead of Biffle right now. Biffle, I think, blew an engine though in the race before this at Bristol, if I remember correctly. Jeremy Mayfield, he's top 5 in points still after 5 races. Biffle 7th right there. Kevin Harvick 8th, Tony Stewart 9th. And Jeff Green's still in the top 10 today. He wasn't running good, but because of how many drivers blew an engine, I guess he's still top 10 in points. I don't know how long he'll be able to keep that up in the 66 car, but we'll see. Let's see here. Jeff Gordon 17th in points early in the year. That's a tough DNF. I don't know if that was his second DNF or not, but I definitely know that obviously blowing an engine today, leading 73 laps, took him out of at least a top 2 finish. He probably would have finished 2nd, if not 1, if he didn't blow an engine. Michael Waltrip, 20th in points after a top 10 run, finished 6th today. Oof, Denny Hamlin, 27th in points. He is a rookie in this game, though. I'll cut Denny Hamlin a little bit of slack. I like how there's a fantasy driver beating David Stremme right now in the 40, by the way. You have like all the regular drivers, and you have one fantasy driver ahead of David Stremme. Ouch. That's tough. Yeah, he's not really filling the void for Sterling Marlin right now, is he? I mean, Marlin in the 14 car, where's he at in points? He's 26. He's like 10 spots higher in points already than the guy that took over his ride. That's bad. That's bad, because that 14 car is not very quick either. Probably, as far as equipment goes, is actually worse. And he's 10 spots higher than him in points. All right, that is gonna finish out tonight's stream. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. We'll be racing at Milwaukee tomorrow on the channel for the Busch Series, 250 laps. That'll start at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope to see you guys for that one. And have a good rest of your Monday night, everybody. Thanks for watching as always. And yeah, like and subscribe. Road to 5K subscribers. See you, everybody.